Well, it's together. Mostly. I finished the last video. I hadn't had the head on and torqued, and had some issue with these studs. I don't know. I guess I really didn't know what size of stud they were, because in the specs they give you a 8mm and a 10mm torque spec. I went with a 10, went up to 24 pounds, but I think they're 8mm. That's the nut, so they're actually 20. But yeah, they're all 24. Let's put it that way. This nut stripped when I was trying to torque it. It just seemed like I was, you know how you get that feeling when you're tightening something that something's going to strip. And that's the way they all felt. And I know that head cylinder gasket has got to compress, but it just felt funky the whole time, and I was just leery. So I started out at like 20 torque pounds, and went up to 22, then to 24. But I eventually got them all 24. I checked them again today. I did this, I don't know, a couple days ago, and stopped up and bought a nut to replace that one. And but anyway, that's an M8 by 1.25 nut, or stud, I guess you'd say. So yeah, 17 to 20 pounds would have been sufficient. Yeah, my fault for not knowing the size. So now we're on to assembling some more. I took the filler neck and painted it up, and that goes on, I believe, like this. So we got the bolts over here, which I have to clean up. They're pretty crusty. We'll get those cleaned up and get that installed, and then we're moving on to the well, first, before I do that, is the water pump. We got to get the water pump on with the gasket, and well, this I'm not going to take. No, take that back. That's the gasket down in here. I'm not tearing the pump apart. It appeared okay, so we're going to leave that alone. But yeah, that's the gasket for down in there, so I will save that, and if I need it later, I'll have it. But I did replace the O-ring on here, so we'll put a little bit of grease around that. When we stick it back on, it goes on, I can't see it with my hand in the way, like this here. And then we have a pulley that goes on that pulley. There we go. This is your starter cup, and it also has a pulley back behind it. And of course, the fan, or the water pump belt, goes on there. And so probably should have got a new belt. This one doesn't show any signs of cracking or anything. It's just been on there a long time, I'm sure. But anyway, we're going to go with what we got. So that's where we're at. We're going to do all this, and yeah, I don't know exactly what I want to do, because what I would like to do is get this pump to start pumping oil. And I need to, well, there's a couple fittings I got to put on underneath here. I forgot. Those are my oil pump fittings. It's these two things right here. Set those out here so I don't forget them. And yeah, I'm going to replace both hoses because they're old, and that's where the failure was in one of these hoses. And so new hoses, we'll get those all installed. But what I want to do is to get oil coming out of these little fittings. So if I put the oil line on here and bring it up with a little funnel and start letting oil run into it, And I don't know if I can maybe put a bolt into that and then take the plugs out. They're just sitting there to cover the holes right now. And just let it turn over until it starts pumping oil. And I'm thinking that's kind of the way I'm going to go. And I'll definitely throw some oil, more oil down in those cylinders to make sure they're all lubed up good. But yeah, we'll do that because I would love to get this thing primed. Maybe in those instructions I have over there, I'll take a look. I think I copied something for priming the pump. So, but anyway, that's where we're at. So I'll bring you back when we got some more. Well, it's together pretty much. Only thing I got left are the, obviously the carburetors and the clutch and the starter. But the starter bolts up right here, and it's right in the way of this mounting bolt. And that's a pistol to begin with, because there's not much room underneath to be able to put your nut on the bolt. So I'm going to leave that off, and after I get it mounted, then we will put the starter on first, then the clutch, and finish up with my exhaust system. But yeah, everything went together pretty well. I got the lines run on the pump. As you can see though, I can only get the oil up that far. I was running a drill on the flywheel, took the plugs out and held the pump, kept pumping it. And I did get some of the air out of it and it started moving, but you can see how far it's got to go to get into the cylinder or to inject it. So that's why we're going to be running mixed fuel. Yeah. And, but anyway, got that thing all painted up nice, the filler for the antifreeze. But the inside of this sled is kind of cruddy. I wanted to take it up to the car wash and just kind of spray it out, but it's going to be a lot of work to get it up there. So I've got some of this stuff here. It's a degreaser, and it's pretty good stuff. So I think we'll just take and put that in there, and maybe take a brush or something there and kind of clean it off the best I can. Put a buckets underneath it to try to catch the water. But yeah, I kind of like to get that all cleaned out of there. I mean, you got the engine out. It's like now's the time to do it. So, but yeah, that's the next thing that I need to do. So, because then we're going to start putting the engine in. And I'm hoping that I can do it by hand. I pulled it out with my engine puller, which made it nice and easy, but it was kind of tricky. I mean, I should take the hood off. I had the hood off and be a breeze. And I could just place it down in there and no sweat. But it's probably 70 pounds, maybe 80 pounds for that whole engine and everything. Yeah, if I can lift it up enough to be able to put it in there. With that clutch off of it, it'll be a little bit lighter. So, but anyway. Yeah, another thing that I wanted to mention, I was thinking about these seals and putting them on backwards like this. The more I thought about it, it's like I've never had a problem with one of those springs breaking on the inside of the engine. And I think because it's constantly getting lubrication inside the engine, you're getting oil on it. It's a stainless steel spring. It ain't going to break, really. Putting it here, you could risk rust getting on it or it getting somehow. I mean, like I say, I think it's a stainless steel spring. So what I did is I got some grease. I packed that thing full of grease in there just to keep that spring from, getting water on it. of any sort, because it will. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. I would do it the other way. I don't know. I kind of thought at first that was the way to go. This one is tucked in back in behind everything, so it's more safe. I didn't put any grease on that one because I'd already put the flywheel on it, and I'm not going to horse around taking that thing off again. But yeah, I ran that drill on that nut on that flywheel, and I took the plugs out and everything, and then got it to spin, but it was like I dropped oil down in each cylinder just to lubricate the snot out of that, and because I don't want this doing what my Dragon did. Anyway, I don't want it scuffing cylinders, walls, and stuff like that. It's like, so, but I mean, it's got plenty of oil in it. But I couldn't get the daggone thing. It started pumping, and then it stopped. And so I said, well, it's starting to feed. I mean, you can see I still got my little contraption set up here and let it kind of force feed down in it. And this screw here, you loosen it to bleed your pump. I did that, and I got the air, everything, all the air's out of it, I believe. But I just have to run it, and I'll just watch it after I idle for a while. I mean, like I say, well, she looks like a snowmobile again. Got it back in, didn't do any filming, but you can see my lines. I put some, actually I had heavier line that I found that I had, put that on. Anyway, I got her setting in there. I just muscled it in and hooked all the hoses up. I don't have any antifreeze right now, so I've got to wait. But what I want to do, I'll show you. Got the clutch on, belt, starter. I got everything hooked up except the positive cable on the battery. Exhaust is in. All the wiring's hooked up except for this. This is your brake sender here. I gotta wait because I'm going to pull these off, this one and this one, and I'm going to fill them with antifreeze just to kind of help circulate. This is my antifreeze bottle, and you can see there's nothing in it. So anyway, that's the plan for now. We're just kind of at a standstill. You can see I got my choke cables here for my carburetors. There's my slide jet for my carburetors. I did get the oil line hooked up, the throttle. You see that? There you go. And so that's done. Boy, my fuel filter was terrible. So changed that, new oil filter also. So yeah, some well-needed maintenance was in store, and so, but yeah, that's just, it went together, back together easier than it came apart. And biggest thing that if you work on these is pull the clutch off. Pull the clutch off. That allows you to get your starter off, and then you can get access, easy access to that bolt right down there. That's a mounting bolt, and that's a pain in the butt if you got to work around that starter, which I did. And because you can't get that starter off unless you get the clutch off. So it's just a combination of a lot of things, and when you've never done it before, well, then it's all new. So, but anyway, I washed it out best I could. I had a bucket of water and that degreaser, but I kind of told you that in the other part of the video. But get that out and put some mix in and get that run through the system. And I think I got enough oil in that cylinders that, yeah, even the little bit of fuel that is left, there isn't much. These are the fuel lines here for the carbs, but there's the fuel pump. But anyway, yeah, I get that because I took the filter off, and you can see there wasn't any fuel, so the fuel is below this level. which is good. So anyway, when I get all that fuel out, I will put in mix, and then we'll be running good old 2-cycle mix so that this puppy will break in. That's what we want, and we need, what's nice is these lines are clear so I can see that oil move up the line and go into the injectors. And so after I run it for a while and see all that's working like it should, and then we can just go to straight gas. Well, the time has come. I don't have it all together yet. I've still got the air cleaner I'm going to put on in this side cover here. But I got the engine in place. It's all full of antifreeze. I've drained the fuel tank, and I'm glad I did that because boy was it cruddy. I don't know, I'm guessing that there's a rod down in there that for a fuel level, you know, and it looks like it's pretty crusty, but it's got a lot of junk in the bottom. But to get that tank off, you've got to pull this seat and this cover, and yeah, it should be taken off and cleaned properly is what it should be, but I didn't do it. So what I did is I pulled the line up. I just put a new feeder line inside the tank this year because the other one went bad, and for some odd reason I just put this on the end of it. It's just a weight, but there's no filter, there's no nothing. So fortunately I had an inline filter, but my inline filter, it was, let me see if I can find it, it was black. Oops, that's what it looked like. You can see the crud in that. Look at that, man, that's nasty. You know, so I put a new filter on. What happened this year to start everything off is that line rotted off on the inside of your tank. Well, it won't draw fuel then, obviously, because there's the line has got to go down in the tank to draw the fuel out, and if it it just deteriorates with this gas, and it breaks off, and then nothing. So you just have to put a new line in, and that's what this area right here is. It's the nipple for the tank, and then you just unscrew this, pull this out, and you put a new line on it, stick it in, and bingo bango. But anyway, you gotta have weight on the end of it. But what I've normally done is it's a little check valve, and it's got a screen on the end of it. And I didn't think I had any, I guess, but I found one, so I put it on there today. So that will help filter getting any more garbage into the carburetors. But when I cleaned these today, they looked really good. They were really clean. But I had a couple issues. I think I did it 3 times. This is before I blew it up. I was running it, and then all of a sudden it would stall. And it would turn over, and I just keep choking it, and bingo, it'd start back up again, and I'd run. It did that, I think, 3 different times before it finally seized. I don't know what was going on, but my feeling was that this filter was getting so plugged it couldn't let fuel go through it. So anyway, we got that problem fixed, hopefully. The tank is still cruddy, but we get to have double filters on it now. So, and I put a new oil filter in it, and filled all my lines with antifreeze, topped off the antifreeze, and there's also a overflow jug over here that you need to fill, and you can kind of see the line right there where it's at, and that's just about the full mark. 4 gallons of mix, and you can see my oil line, it is completely full on both sides, and so that's excellent. That means the pump is working, and now I've got double the amount of oil that I need in there. So the problem there is it's going to run rich for a while. But like I said, I put 2 gallons of mix in it. I drained off 5 gallons of straight fuel, so I'll just I'll just add straight fuel to it, and that'll dilute it out so that it'll run a little bit leaner. I mean, the fuel will be leaned out. With this pumping oil into it, yeah, I won't need to horse around anymore. But let me just fire it up for you here, just to show you it works, and hopefully it'll fire. I just had it running, so. Got the idle up a little bit on it right now because of the, when I put the air box on, I have to adjust the idle back. But I wanted to keep running, so I'm pretty excited about that. And, you can see my idle rate now is pretty high because the track is actually spinning at idle, and it shouldn't be doing that. But I just want to keep this thing idling. I need for it to break in. So anyway, I'm trying to hear it starting to starve a little bit right now. Don't want to run it real long because it's liquid cooled and it depends on snow to keep it cool. And I'll show you underneath the running board. See those radiators there? There's one on each side, and then there's another one that runs across the front up underneath where the track throws snow on it, and that's what keeps your system cool. So, but yeah, I put a heat gun on it, and it's okay. You know, I think everything's working. I mean, circulating everywhere. So I'm pretty happy. Well, that's the end of this project. This is more my speed, 500. I don't ride that fast. So she's a good old sled. I've taken good care of it. The seat's in nice shape. And everything's up to snuff. And I mean, it's got a fresh, brand new engine basically on it now. So, yep. And I can't remember how many miles I didn't have on it. But yeah, 6443. So it was time for a rebuild basically. And I mean, it ran good when it before the oil line broke. But you know, that's the way it goes. Watching and following along and subscribing, and I do appreciate all the comments, and we'll see you on the next one.